Oh, I'm a total mess, and I still have mosquitoes squished on me from walking in the woods. This morning, I wanted to come on and talk about what being dysregulated feels like for me and why it's important I regulate myself and what happens when I'm dysregulated. And it can just be super simple and super basic. So, hi, I'm a Smallbone. I'm a forest whisperer. I have ADHD. I have autism. I have all the wonderful spiciness. But I also talk to trees. And today, the trees called to me. And what that feels like for me is I'm sitting here in my morning, having my coffee and having my drinks and all the things that I need. And I just feel a pull. I feel a pull to go to the forest. I know that I'm dysregulated um, because I'm not able to control my emotions as easily this week. Also, yesterday, the reason why I got dysregulated was one of my posts on Threads went viral. And on Threads, a viral post is like anything that gets over 100 comments and probably 300 likes. And yesterday I hit 1,000. I think it's stuck at 1,000. So I'm assuming that Threads only has, I don't know, maybe I have no idea. But yesterday I replied to all 317 comments on that post because that's who I am. I'm autistic. And I think, well, I have to do this to the best of my ability. And I knew when I was doing it, it was probably dysregulating me. And there probably were things I could have done yesterday to help myself slow down that pace. I could have done my workout. I could have gotten up in between messages a couple extra times, but I didn't. And that was at 2:22. So I know I could have helped myself yesterday. But I was too dysregulated to even be conscious that I was going down that path. I think at about 2:30 yesterday afternoon, I realized that I hadn't had lunch, that I hadn't drank my water, that I hadn't taken my medication, that I hadn't done my workout, that I hadn't smoked enough weed, and I could feel it all starting to come apart. And then this morning, when I was making my drink, I was trying to get the ice in, and you know how sometimes it chunks up and you're like slamming it down? Well, this is what happens to Emma when she's dysregulated because I cut my finger on the bloody ice because I have no pain tolerance when I'm dysregulated. Or I do have an extremely high pain tolerance, sorry, when I'm dysregulated. And when I'm dysregulated, I also can't feel, like physically feel it. So, yes, when I was doing that, I jammed it down and I went, "Oh yeah, that kind of felt funny," but it was only for a second. And then I went on, I got all my juice, I went and did some stuff, and then I went, "Oh, that really," and I looked down and it's like gushing blood. And that's when I know I'm dysregulated. When I can put up with a lot of physical pain and my body doesn't even tell me about it. Or I'm incredibly thirsty and my body doesn't tell me about it. Or I really need to pee and my body doesn't tell me about it. Um, because when I'm not regulated, I am pretty much disassociating all the time. And this was a big aha for me this week that a lot of the work that I do is actually using those skills that I learned from my trauma to disassociate so I don't feel pain. And it's not just physical pain, but emotional pain. Like when somebody's saying something really rude to me or somebody's being really obnoxious, I don't actually notice that that should be painful because my whole entire life, people have been incredibly rude to me, and I'm only just realizing it now because I didn't know what pain was. I didn't know what emotional pain was. I didn't know. I love everyone too. Thanks for joining. Hi, viewers that are on here. I'm Emma Smallbone. Um, I am a forest whisperer, and I connect with my forest to receive messages so I can regulate myself. And what I was talking about here today is I've been dysregulated for the last 24 hours because I made some choices that weren't healthy. So I replied to 300 messages on my Threads feed, and I didn't take drink my hydrating water, and I didn't eat properly yesterday, and I woke up. Oh, I love good coffee. I'm sorry for that oh, yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I have autism and I have ADHD. I didn't find out until I was 48, or sorry, 46. And the past 2 years, I've been learning all about this. So I want to help other people like myself that didn't know that they had a disability their whole entire life. And they didn't realize that, my super high crazy pain tolerance is actually me disassociating because of all the trauma that I've had to deal with all my life. And as an autistic person, or a neurodivergent person in general, or a divergent thinker in general, you will be disassociating from your life in some way, shape, or form because it's not comfortable for us to live in a neurotypical world. I have an auditory processing disorder, which makes the world incredibly loud. And I didn't know that until 6 months ago. And what we're realizing now is I'm actually going deaf because everything is too loud. And me going, what? What was that? Is not just my auditory processing because I take longer to process, but it's also because I'm deaf. So I want to come on here and help other people who may have divergent minds understand what it can possibly feel like. And then, hey, Freya, my little dog. Freya, come and say hi. This is Freya, everybody. She helps me regulate. So not only does she sit with me in the mornings and calm me, but we go for walks. And today, she actually didn't want to go into the woods. And I kind of had to force her. She's not feeling very well. She had bronchitis and her medication. Yeah, pet the dog, right? Give it all the pets. Give it all the pets. I'll give her a pet for you too. Um, she's fantastic. And if you do have divergence, pets can be a way for you to help you regulate yourself. Oh, what's over there for you? Let me get that for you. Um, or they can be incredibly overstimulating. I actually rescued two cats from like a hoarder kind of situation. Well, not a hoarder. It was just a cat lady situation. And I got incredibly overstimulated while they were in my house. So after I got them adopted out, I had to make sure that I went into my cave, which is my bedroom that I call my cave. And my partner and I have separate bedrooms just because I do actually get overstimulated by sleeping with somebody beside me because it's the vibrations and all the things. So we've come up with the solution where when I get overstimulated and I say, I'm going to the bat cave, and I go in there and I do sensory deprivation where I put on my headphones and I listen to binaural beats and I sometimes put on a mask. Um, oh, very funny. Yeah, my wife got me vibrating last night too. Here's the thing. That's actually really important that we actually get a vibration from our partner. and that it does actually help us. So, yes, you are correct. You probably did get a vibration from your wife last night, too, right? Um, but we all need to be aware of these things, and we all need to be aware of what energy we're bringing to it. So, this morning, I knew I was dysregulated. And of course, if I'm dysregulated and my kid wakes up, they're going to be dysregulated because our children, our neurodivergent children, if they're not adults yet, they really haven't learned how to regulate themselves. And if we don't know how to regulate ourselves, how are our kids going to know how to regulate themselves or even understand what that means? So we were headed to camp this morning and it was just too much. We don't have any information from my kids' high school yet, and they're really overwhelmed by that. So that started off the morning. I don't have my schedule and I'm so stressed out and da 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 da. So then I said, "Hey, kiddo, why don't we just slow down? Why don't we just take a breath? We don't have to be at camp right on time. It's okay if we, are behind a couple of minutes because you know what? You're in LIT this week and it's okay if you're not there. You're not a camp counselor." So we just kind of slowed our energy down because I noticed that my energy was rubbing off on their energy. So then we just took a breath and we talked a little bit about how we were feeling and maybe what was stressing us out. And then we had some cuddles and then we cuddled with the dog. And then we were all good. We had a protein shake. It was great. But I didn't know my whole entire life that my dysregulation was dysregulating my whole entire family. And when my family is dysregulated, I'm dysregulated. So it's like this constant battle. So now that we're all aware of it and we're aware what dysregulates us and what gets us out of our, peace and calm place, like you saw me last week or on the weekend, it's very easy to switch in and out of that if you don't understand what's going on in your body. So that's why the Wild Healing School has been opened, because I want to share with you the lessons that my forest has taught me. That when a tree stands in a place for a couple hundred years, it's pretty wise. And if you go and sit with it, or just the energy of it. I do smoke pot, actually. That is one of the things that helps me regulate. And I do smoke on um, a regular basis. Like, actually, in the mornings, I smoke a whole joint. So, here, let's partake. Um, I have learned a lot about cannabis this year. I was just a casual pot smoker that just smoked it for the sake of getting high. But this year, I've actually learned a hell of a lot more about cannabis and how it works and the different strains. So every single morning, I smoke a joint high in THC and an average CBD. And it just makes my pain bearable. Because one of the things when you're dealing with trauma is your trauma is trapped in your body. And when you start to process your emotions, that trauma wakes up in your body. And about 5 years ago, I had a car accident where, the holy ship bars, I held on to one of the holy ship bars and the whole weight of the car came down on my shoulder and I tore my shoulder and got whiplash. That was the beginning of me healing my trauma. It woke up this initial trauma that was in my body from being a child. And ever since then, all of these big emotional waves have been coming through. And with the help of cannabis and learning how to regulate myself, and you don't need to use cannabis, by the way. I'm going to tell you all sorts of other ways to do it. For me, this works. I believe in sacred medicine. I believe in the medicines from the land. And actually, today I was out in the forest And the two medicines that they kept showing me was motherwort, which, if you don't know, is great for women or people with uteruses in the perimenopause, menopause stage, which I am actually in. So they're telling me that I had to focus on that. And yesterday, like a balloon afraid of pins and needles. What? I have no idea what that means. Are you talking, what's that stuff called? Brain rot? Um, so once I learned how to intentionally use cannabis, my brain relaxed and I was actually able to process the trauma that I had when I was a kid and didn't realize that I had. And I know all the bullshit about false memories. Trust me, these are not false memories. I remember all of this stuff. I just forgot about it. And I have the physical scars in my body. So once you're able to relax your brain as a neurodivergent, and you can do that with physical fitness, you can do that with, you know, doing all sorts of different things, somatics and tapping and breath work. There's so many things. It doesn't have to be cannabis. I just choose to use cannabis. Once my brain relaxed, I was able to dive deeper into my emotions. I was able to learn about my emotions because I didn't actually even feel emotions, which is incredible to think after calling myself an empath my entire professional mediumship life. But I understand other people's emotions. I just don't understand mine. And I don't understand how to describe it. I only know so many words to describe what I feel in here. So having to relearn that all again has been incredible. So learn how it feels to be in a dysregulated body. Take note when you're not feeling yourself, and you can do things like hurt yourself and not feel it. Being dysregulated is not a good place to be. We make really bad decisions when we're dysregulated. We hunt dopamine. So we want, like, we buy things or we eat things or we need things or we look for love in all the wrong places when we're um, dysregulated. And that's ultimately what made me realize, holy crap, I am not being myself because I'm just acting from a completely dysregulated place. And I was in that fight or flight mode all the time. It's not good for our hearts. It's not good for our minds. The stress that it causes in our bodies is insane. So once you realize that you may be just running on adrenaline, or you may just be running on like fumes because you're just dysregulated and you're just moving forward just for the sake of moving forward and you don't actually feel anything anymore, when you realize that, you realize you have to change your life. You have to change what you're doing, because what you're doing is actually killing you. So, if you want to learn more about this, follow my Instagram, follow, oh my God, go to my website. I'll put all the links below. It's thewildhealing.com, or emmasmallbone.com will take you both to the same places. It's a community where you can regulate yourself and learn the skills to regulate yourself. Bye for now, wildlings. Have a wonderful day. Go be wild.